Most of us are familiar with the story of Jacob and Esau, right? So how exactly does that relate to us today? Hey everybody, so I've mentioned this before on social media, but I'll say it here in this video. So I've tried to record this video multiple times, and every time I try to record it, something would happen. Like the wind would be too strong, or there would be like a major distraction in the background or whatever. Kids running up cussing, and just like, bruh, like, okay. So I'm trying it again. It's a beautiful day. The sun's setting right now. It was burning up hot, but now it's pretty cool, so that's awesome. So anyway, I'm gonna shut up about that. I'm gonna try to get on with this video. So Jacob and Esau. If by chance you're not really familiar with the story, I'll just do a quick summary of it. Basically, Jacob and Esau, the story of twins, right? It was a story about the struggle of a birthright, or a fight over a birthright. Jacob and Esau had a rivalry even in the womb. The day they was born, they tussled and wrestled, and when it seemed like Jacob was going to be born first, Esau came out, but Jacob was clutching his heel. So why is the birthright important? Well, from my understanding, the birthright basically meant that the firstborn son was essentially going to be a king in their family, the patriarch. They would lead the family, and they would inherit, you know, the blessing and things from the father. So Jacob wanted it. Jacob really coveted it, and time goes on, and there's a stark difference between the two brothers. Esau was a man's man. Harry was a hunter-gatherer. he was a hunter, and Jacob wasn't. Jacob was more. He was in the house. He was, he cooked and things like that. And Esau was his father's favorite. Jacob was his mother's favorite. So one day, Esau was out hunting, very tired. I mean, their brother was hungry. He was starving. His stomach was touching his back. So Esau came in, and he had, smelled food cooking. And you know how when you get when you're hungry and you smell foods, like you about lose it. It's just like going to the store on an empty stomach. You start grabbing everything. So Esau was like, "Hey man, I smell what you got cooking. I want some. I'm hungry." And Jacob was like, "Nah, man. It's like give me your birthright, and I'll do it." And then Esau was like, "Man, what good is my birthright when I'm dead, man? You can have it. Give me some of that food." And so Esau traded away his birthright. Time goes on, and I don't really think Isaac recognized that. I don't think he knew, given how at the end of his life he had called Esau to him and was going to give him a blessing, but wanted him to go and get the ingredients to make his favorite stew. So Esau went out to gather the materials. Rebecca overheard and knew what was about to happen, so then she got Jacob and said, "Hey, your father's about to bless your brother. Why don't you go and put on some of your brother's clothes or whatever, and I'll make the food, and then you can go you get the blessing." I'm like, "Okay, whatever, cool." So he did it, and he put on some of Esau's clothes. He put on some fur, I think it was some sheep's wool, and brought the food in there. And Jacob was like, it's kind of remind me of Little Red Riding Hood, and Jacob's like, "Oh grandma, what," he was like, "Oh Esau, what hairy arms you got, and you smell like Esau, but you sound like Jacob," and "Oh no, it's me, it's totally me, it's Esau." So after a while, after some tense moments with his father, he eventually got the blessing. And after the blessing and he ate the stew, Jacob left. Then Esau came in and he was ready. All right, Dad, what's up? All right, I'm ready. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I thought I just gave you the blessing. Like, no, you didn't. I just came back and finished cooking your food. And he's like, well, your brother just got the blessing. He's like, well, is there anything left you can give me? He's like, not really. I gave it all to your brother, but, here's something. And he was furious. He was sad. He was crying. He was upset. The Bible said he was crying. He saw the inheritance through tears, but he couldn't get it, right? So what does that have to do with us today? Well, let me share another story. There's an old Native American story about a grandfather talking to his grandson. And his grandson, I guess in the story, I'm paraphrasing, he had did something, he had hurt another boy or something. And his grandfather wanted to teach him a lesson, so he started telling him a story about there's two wolves that live inside of us. And at the end of the story, in the story, the two wolves, one is good and one is bad. And then the grandson asked, the grandfather at the end of the story said, well, Grandpa, which wolf wins? And he said, whichever one you feed. Right? And that relates to the story of Jacob and Esau, because Esau, sold his birthright for a meal. I remember I had this conversation with a pastor, and I had asked him, what does he think mankind's original sin was? And he had told me man's appetite. And I'm like, I didn't agree, because I thought that mankind's, original sin was them wanting to be like God, like the sin of Satan. But I see his perspective now, because as you think about it in the context of Esau and what he has done, Esau represents Christians or anyone that lives by their flesh, lives by their appetite. Just think about it. Whenever we live by our flesh, we start giving into that, and it's like a hunger, and we won't be satisfied until that hunger is appeased, until we satiate that hunger, and that's what drove Esau to give up his birthright. Today, with us New Testament believers, our birthright is the Holy Spirit. When you accept Christ, we are then born again, and the Holy Spirit comes upon us, and God gives us His Spirit as the down payment of our salvation. That is our inheritance. Okay. Whenever you reject Christ, you reject your inheritance, because when you reject Christ, you're saying that I don't want to live that way. Like, I want to live life on my terms. I want to live life the way I see fit. I don't want to feel judgment. I don't want to feel condemnation. Like, I just, I don't believe that. It doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't satisfy my hunger. So you hunger and you thirst after other things. And now it took me a long time to kind of put that together with Jacob and Esau, because I would read it in Hebrews and other scriptures, and I'm like, what is he talking about? But now as I'm explaining it to you, that's how it correlates, that's how it relates. So I want to encourage you guys in your journey, whether you believe. See, I told you every time I try to do this. Anyway, I want to encourage you guys to walk by the Spirit. So let us use the story of Esau as a warning, because it's basically a foreshadowing or a precursor to those who don't walk by the Spirit and those who reject Christ. In all that we do, we have to make sure we do not try to satisfy our appetite with sin. The only thing that can truly satisfy our appetite is Christ. And that was the difference between Jacob and Esau. Whereas Jacob saw the importance of the inheritance, he desired that, and Esau didn't care. He just wanted to, he took it for granted, and he just wanted to be fed. He just wanted his appetite appeased. And so don't compromise your salvation. Don't compromise who you are just because you want to get or have whatever itch scratch. Alright, so that's it for this video, guys. I love you. I hope this was helpful, and I will catch you next time.